morning, everyone. You are watching Awani News, and I am Abyan. Let's look at some important news for the day. Budgeting is a hot topic in Dewan Rakyat today. Budgeting in Malaysia is always a popular topic for the government as well as the people. Article 99(1) of the Federal Constitution defines a budget as a statement of the estimated receipts and expenditure of the Federation for the year. Public sector budgeting concerns how the government plans for its revenues and expenditures at the federal, state, and local government levels to cover the needs of developmental programs and projects. So, who is involved in the federal budget? The Ministry of Finance is accountable for the planning of the budget in most countries, specifically Malaysia. The Ministry of Finance receives information and data from other ministries and some of the smaller funding organizations such as the Ministry of Education and the Royal Malaysia Police in order to execute these critical tasks. However, over the last few years, the government has taken a more popular collaborative approach, requesting public feedback from people to obtain their insights on the budget. There are two main components of the Malaysian budget, which are the national revenue and national expenditure. The national revenue consists of federal revenues, state revenues, and local government. The national expenditure comprises of operating expenditure and development expenditure. Let's see what the House of Representatives in the Dewan Rakyat has to say about this. Any proposals? You may start.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to inform the House on the issues of budget implementation. Firstly, the issues on increasing government debt due to the budget deficit. To cover a shortfall in a specific year, the government will borrow the money from varieties of sources, including the money from the same banking institution of the consumers and private companies. This has increased the worrisome of private sectors, as the possibility of availability of loans will be lower. It will hurt the economy in the long run and thus crowd out private sector investment. Even though the banks offer a higher interest rate for government borrowing, this will only cause an increase in the percentage of debt of the government. The involved commercial banks fear of not getting paid back, hence decreasing the investment by the investor. It will lead to a massive recession since the investor will lose billions of investment and the loss of government credibility. This is a major reason why the debt of the government is considered as the gross domestic income. The growth of GDP is in line with the ability of the government to sustain its debt. All of us do not want the GDP to decrease since it will be harder to find foreign investors.
Yes, Madam Speaker. To add, even though the budget had been allocated after a thorough process, some departments would still have insufficient funds due to the scarcity of resources. For example, let's say the budget allocated for education is reduced, when the budget was never enough to actually provide a good infrastructure for conducive learning. The process of upgrading the infrastructure will be delayed and resulting in low academic performance of the students. Also, if the budget for healthcare is not allocated properly or enough to cover the medical expenses for the sake of the health of the citizens, it will reduce the health quality, thus also affecting the overall productivity of the country. Meanwhile, if a department has received excessive funds, many problems may also occur. It may increase the risk of corruption, for instance, especially if the actual expenses are much lower than what had been allocated. It is also cost and time consuming to reallocate budget in the middle of the year, and it can cause problems in the next budget preparation. Inaccurate budget allocation can lead to the affected sectors to have misleading information that will affect their decision making and later also affect the country directly or indirectly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In addition to the budgeting issues raised by Yang Berhormat Gombak and Kelang, I would like to draw the attention of the House towards the consideration on the outcomes. It has come to our attention that since budget is numeric in nature, it tends to ignore the needs of the consumers. Although the government is a non-profit organization, but still in the budgeting process, they will try to increase revenue and decrease expenditures for subsidiaries. Besides, sometimes the program that has been implemented does not give advantages to income, all groups of income in Malaysia. For example, previously, in the 2019 budget, the government has launched the scheme Rumah Mampu Milik with the objectives to provide low interest loans to families with monthly income lower than 2,500 ringgit. However, as of June 2019, reports have shown that only 300 families have taken the loan. Even though the government has spent millions of ringgit on this program, many families still cannot afford to buy these offered houses. Moreover, there is the issue of imbalances in income distribution. In order to distribute income evenly, the government needs to collect sufficient taxes. Yet, the tax collection in Malaysia was 15.2% in 2019 and has now further decreased to 13.1%. The decline in tax collection may be good news to some parties, but it is a constraint for the government to provide support to the B20 group, single mothers, elder citizens, and for environmental protection.
Is there any recommendations regarding the issues?
I am pleased to advise the House on how to cater the issues mentioned before. Firstly, I would like to propose for the Inland Revenue Board to track down and get the wealthy to pay tax. Nowadays, there are a lot of business owners who profited thousands or even millions of ringgit but did not declare their business income. It is unfair to the ones who pay tax according to the guidelines. Seems like the businesses are not taking care of the country economy. They should realize with their help, the country can increase the GDP, hence improve the standard life of citizens. Also, removing tax incentive for foreign companies will also help the government to increase their income. Giving them capital allowance for a long time does not exactly benefit the country or even the Malaysian citizen, especially if the companies profited millions of ringgit while using the low cost labor from our country and not paying tax. To add up, increasing tax or import duties on luxury items such as automobiles or high-end fashion items will also help to increase the government income. We believe that this will not be a problem to the Malaysians in general.
I believe allocating the right amount of budget is important for the government to ensure that the fund reach where it is required the most. While new developments like new LRT lines and new roads in the city are important to improve the traffic conditions, considering the current situation of the country, especially with the ongoing pandemic, I recommend that the budget should be allocated in the more important area, for instance, to recover the economy as well as the lifestyles of the citizens. There are many more crucial areas that need improvement and recovery. For example, since COVID-19 had impacted the education department, especially since students are not allowed to attend their school or institution physically, there should be a budget allocated to improve their internet services, especially in rural areas. As we know, the internet connection in rural area is not that good, or we can say bad, and we need to help the B40s or lower income families to have equal accessibility for online learning. The same goes for the healthcare sector. Increasing the allowances of public health workers would really help to motivate them to do their best as they can, as they are the most needed service during the pandemic. Although the development of the country should always be a priority, we believe that the recovery and the needs of the citizens are more important during this time.
With regard to the issue that I have raised, I would like to advise the House to improve the current budget system by giving more focus on the output of the program and risk management, as well as imposing budgetary control. Budgetary control plays an important role in ensuring the given budget for the proposed projects are used efficiently and achieves the intended goals and objectives. Together with that, a cost-benefit analysis should be used to determine how the spending will result in benefit. In this case, how the spending benefits the citizens. In addition, the quality of each budget document should be refined. This can be done by producing the currently unavailable budget documents, for example, citizens' budget and mid-year review, improving the comprehensiveness of the executive budget proposal and increasing the comprehensiveness of the year-end report. Besides, Malaysia needs a comprehensive reform of the tax framework if we want to be in a better fiscal position, one that is balanced in achieving revenue growth while encouraging economic growth, and also alleviates the challenges or burdens on those requiring support, such as the P40. The government needs to look at the annual national budget together with the country's economic agenda and its focus on the engines of growth in order to formulate a holistic tax reform. Thank you.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat. People of the House, this session will be postponed to Wednesday, 6 January 2021. Assalamualaikum. That is the Awani news for today. Thank you for watching. I am Abian and have a great day.